11:45. Wait, I can't hear you. Can I hear you like this? Hold on. Why are you on my phone? Wait, why? I can't hear you. Is there no mic? I should be able to hear you though, right? Huh? Is it you? Are you muted? I can only hear you through the phone. Fine. There's like 13 people watching us. So
Hold on.
I can only hear you through the phone. Hi guys.
I'm gonna hang up the phone because that's why the mic isn't working.
Okay. Hi everyone. Hello.
Hey guys.
Hey guys. Oh my god, you sounded like Khloe Kardashian. Hey guys.
Hi everyone.
Oh my god, there's Katrina's here, Robert Lee. This is crazy. So we basically said we wanted to just go live, like randomly start going live on Tuesdays. We didn't really announce it. Bella had computer issues, so she didn't even have a computer this morning, or right for like half of the day. So we waited until like a last minute. There's an echo because we're not at home. So I'm sorry, we're not in the studio. We're at home. So we don't really have
You're gonna hear a little bit of an echo and the sound's probably not gonna be all that great for now until we get the home studios together. But we want to start just coming on Tuesdays. We'll probably be doing this a little bit earlier on most Tuesdays, but we got a lot to catch up on because a lot has happened and we have a lot to say about what's happened, because particularly me, because I'm banned everywhere. Like I'm more banned than the Taliban, quite literally. I'm not on Twitter, I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on Facebook. So the only place where I get to communicate my feelings is on Truth Social, and there's not a lot of people that I can I can't exactly write back to some of our enemies on there that aren't spending time on there.
Yeah.
So Linda, why don't you tell everybody what's been happening?
So basically, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I'm trying to get paid on Twitter. Can everybody hear me? Or my AirPods are not working?
We hear you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think I hear you guys on the AirPods. All right, whatever. So pretty much I have been sending controversial tweets because why not? Everyone's doing it. So I decided, why not us, in behalf of us. Most people know it's me though, so it's okay, Bella, you're safe. I'll take the blame. And so really and truly, what has been pissing conservatives off is that I have been pointing at their hypocrisy and also trying to make
Linda, I think we lost your sound. Can you guys tell me if you hear Linda in the chat? No, we don't hear you. We don't hear you. There you go.
Okay.
Now.
All right. I took out the airports. I don't know what happened. Okay, so pretty much, so actually observation. Let's go back. Because this is how I started my life, Bella. You didn't see this. What I was telling people was a lot of us became Trump supporters or started voting more conservative because of Trump and because we like this economic agenda and things like that. And what ended up happening is that post 2020, there has been a movement of people that are trying to go more far right. I think some of it is a grift. Some of them I think are legit. I don't necessarily want to start calling people names and stuff like that, but obviously there is a lot of like the real Christian conservatives who are trying to be more based and as a result trying to shame people who don't participate or don't align with their beliefs or don't do what or don't participate in what they participate or I don't know. And what I've noticed since the right started merging with the red pill space has been a shift of blaming everything on women. Everything is blamed on women, right? And people can't just say like, oh, well, it's because women are emotional. It's always been that way. Feminism ruined stuff. Yeah, I've been around the conservative movement for 5 years. This type of rhetoric has definitely intensified in the last couple of months. So don't tell me that it's always been that way, because I'm pretty sure had it always been that way, I would have pretty much, I think, rejected the whole ideology and probably not participated in these type of politics. So that's one, right? And what ended up happening, I'm beefing with Bryson Gray, and Bryson Gray I just found out that he actually banned us on Instagram or on Twitter, right? And what ended up happening was Bryson saw a tweet where I said, the first tweet I think he replied was when I said, how ugly women get attention from men, and then it's like repeal the 19th Amendment. He replied back to that one. I never answered him. He said, oh, you don't believe in repealing the 19th Amendment? I ignored him. I'm like, I'm not even going to deal with this guy. Then I sent another tweet that said, women are more attracted or resonate more with Donald Trump because unlike conservative commentators and influencers, he's not like nagging us about stuff or telling us what to do, how to dress, what to think, and he has more riz and whatever. So Bryson got that tweet, and I guess it really it triggered him, where he retweeted it, and he's like, "Oh, translation: if you want to be a degenerate, like vote for Donald Trump." And I forgot the other stuff that he said. I could probably find it and post it here. And that was basically it. And that's when we started going back and forth, because I was like, there has been no mention of degeneracy at all. Like nobody has said anything degenerate. And that's where your mind took you. Your mind took you to, if you want to be a degenerate, just vote for Donald Trump, because now he thinks he's so much better than everyone else, because he's like, oh, I'm just this perfect Christian, and like I reject Donald Trump because he supports gay people and because he pushed the vaccine or because he did this and he did that. So we've been at it for like 24 hours now. I never approached him. I don't follow him. I can't stand him. I haven't liked him for a very long time. So I didn't want to interact with him at all, but he started attacking me. And where I'm at is that I think we have to remind people why we started making content and why we started supporting the right, the Republican Party, Trump, whatever you want to call it. I think that we have to remind people of that, because everyone needs to find their niche. So if there's people that are very Christian and I mean, you guys know we support Christians, it's not about that. But if there is people that need us or others to fit in a mold, that's not why we ever supported Trump or the Republican Party.
Right. Like, I don't think that either one of us would have, like you mentioned, it's been 5 years of, complete commitment to the Republican Party in reality, because we've been there. We've knocked on doors for Republican candidates. We're part of the REC. We've been to the GOP events. So we have been hard for conservatives and for the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. And certainly we've seen a shift, I'd say, since last year, mid 2022, leading up to the elections. also this has coincided with the colliding of the red pill space with
Right.
with the conservative space,
Yeah.
and it's definitely turned into a more toxic place
Yeah.
because
It's a
we're
very
getting
toxic
it
place.
from the red pill space, we're getting it from the DeSantis people and against the Trump people or whatever it may be, and there's just a lot of toxicity right now that did not exist. So it really does, when you're consistently being met with why you're not conservative enough, why you're not Christian enough, why you're not a real Republican, why you're not a real conservative. And then that's usually followed by something that's minute and irrelevant, like you wear leggings, or you have a podcast that shows that you're Latinas, so you're that's a red flag, or oh, you're Catholic, so then that's a problematic, or you wear a bikini to the beach in South Beach, so that's problematic. And it's a constant looking over your shoulder of who are you going to piss off next, who's going to be upset at you, who's going to call you out, because everybody feels so entitled to
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't understand why people feel so entitled to call each other out. It's a very strange situation, particularly when you don't know each other personally. Like that Christian person or very conservative, modest person um who just preaches and shames everybody. They could literally be watching like child porn and we have no idea. How do I know that? Like, I'm just supposed to judge on the few times I see you online. You know what I mean? Like, how are we supposed to know that person's not way more than degenerate? They could be getting happy endings every Friday for all we know from Asian spots. And we have no way of knowing that, right? So they're clearly I think I want to say this carefully, but I think they're clearly trying to make the statement that they do want to be like they want to be misogynist.
right,
Because it's like they want to treat women like they will never talk to men like that. And they'll never talk to us in person, which is what I told Bryson. I think you should come in person and like try this. You know, I think that you should run your mouth to people, not just me. I mean, men, women, whoever you want to call people whores, harlots, whatever it is, you want to, homosexuals, whatever, do it in person. You know?
mean, my thing is that it's like what was the problematic? You know, he called us harlots, talked about the way like made assumptions that we must be whatever he was insinuating because of the way we dress or the way that we look, or I'm not entirely sure what was the trigger behind all of his anger,
Right.
but it does make you rethink, where it's like, well, if the party is headed in a direction where we got over the race wars of 2020 and now we're moving on to the gender wars of 2023, and it's like this is dumb. I don't want to have to log on to the internet and fight with men every single day about why I'm have the same value as them in this world, or why I have to justify my existence to men as of a year ago. Like
literally, this was never a problem before a year ago. And
never.
here's the thing: you're not going to stop. Women are not going to stop voting anytime soon. Like, even if this is like your little fun jab, this is funny. We're just gonna make fun of women, and this is what we're gonna do to women. Like, that's not gonna happen anytime soon. So, what you're doing is alienating people. What you're doing is you're not bringing in allies. You are just trying to be cool and based for no reason at all. So,
well, I think that the most frustrating part about this is that aside from this shift that we've seen over the last 6 months, you and I have dedicated the last several years of our life to actually being on the ground, involved in politics. We've been at school board meetings, making sure that kids are not learning gender ideology, that they're getting prayer days, that they're standing up for the flag. Like, we've actually fought these wars on the ground and actually sacrificed quality of life to fight them, might I add. And we tell you guys that the testimony that we have on the ground is that this is a war that has the front lines filled with women.
Yeah.
Women outnumber men significantly.
I want to address this person right here, the pigeon guy. I'm sorry, Bella. This guy. We are not going to give up a right to vote just because you want to win. You literally have the face of the pigeon slayer. Like, you could be the Fed, you could be the FBI, you could be the CIA, or you could be a real person. There's no incentive for any of us to give up our right to vote just because, oh, I want to win. I want to win so much. Women vote Democrat. Then we can talk about minorities, like the Black vote. We can talk about the Latino vote. We can talk about many things. Last election, more white men actually voted for Joe Biden. I guess white men were so beaten up during the 2020 riots that they ended up actually voting for Joe Biden. So we are not going to give up a right to vote because you want to win so bad. You want to win so bad. That's not going to happen.
Well,
There's no incentive for us. And honestly, the way you're beating us up, it's making it worse. We're becoming more feminist. It's what's happening. Like, now we're like, oh shit, you know what? Like, feminism had a point. The way that you're treating us online, it's actually doing that to us.
It's well, I think that it is going to start moving women like further away, because who the fuck wants to be treated like that on a regular basis? And I'm gonna go back to pigeon pigeon slayer. Dude, here's the talk about this on every single podcast. Men are meant to lead societies, and we are at a moment in time right now where there are weak men in charge. I'm not sure if you've around, but women are not the ones that are meant to lead societies. The society is broken. Take a look in the mirror as a man and say, what are you doing? So I'd ask you, pigeon slayer that wants me to give up my rights to vote, what are you involved with? What do you do to preserve America? Now, straight up, are you involved in any organizations? Are you a part of any political or organizations or PACs? Do you help any candidates out? Are you at school board meetings? Do you call into your commissioners and your senators and your state reps? If you don't do any of that civic action shit, I don't want to hear from you that I shouldn't vote, because I do all that shit. And I see a lot of other women around me doing that. You know what I don't see? Male presence. So when I hear a bunch of men from their couch, and by the way, behind anonymous profiles where they have zero skin in the game, because you don't have to show your name, you don't have to show your face, you don't have to be attached to any of these wild opinions that you have online. I have to carry every single opinion I have on my back with honor, because it's going to be stuck with me forever. So when I hear a guy behind an anonymous page with a fake cartoon picture, probably sitting on his couch, tell me that I shouldn't vote, baby, please give me a society where men are actually men leading a society of actual worth, and I will gladly give up my right to vote. But as long as I have to worry about men putting on skirts, calling me a chest feeder, because as a man in this society allow other men to do that to us.
That's on the left. Then you have the right calling you other names.
I'm not going to give up my right to vote. Until that happens, I am not going to give up my right to vote. This is the insanity. Women are at the forefront of these efforts because there's a lack of men involvement. So it's somebody who's on the front lines watching the lack of male representation. Where are you? Show up. And then maybe, well, literally I'm on a couch right now, fuckhead. Absolutely. But that's not where we're at. You know what it is that we're talking about. You're not involved. You don't have.
So basically what they want is a one-party system. Like this girl, Latina Parfait, that she's had an issue, I guess, with some of your posts.
Oh, that's
making the point that women vote Democrat. So if you give up your right to vote, the right would always win, which is what you claim to be leaving because my feelings. Well, that's not going to happen because you just, so you have to give up your right to vote so that we win. So basically what you want is like a one-party rule. That doesn't really seem very constitutional even. It's just not, I don't understand. What you're trying to say, do you want a monarchy? Because I think that it would be a lot easier if you guys said that you wanted a monarchy. Because that's what you want. If all men voted, you would have one-party rule. Right? Am I making this up, or is this not what they're saying? We'll always be conservative. We'll always be Republican. That's a one-party rule. That sounds kind of like a monarchy. It doesn't sound very what we're supposed to be, like a constitutional republic. So I'm trying to understand what they want here.
I want to clarify for the people that are coming in. Third Eye Mafia asked, "So are you guys Democrats now? You were doing so amazing." No, Third Eye, we are absolutely not Democrats. But
I think I'm more interested. Sorry.
Illusion, and the more involved we've become locally, the more immersed we've become in politics, like truly involved in politics, the more we realize that the two-party system is a lie that has to unalive. Like, we've got to stop believing that there's a party that represents us, because it's just not there.
And also that there's people like Bryson Gray, who for some reason, even though they're not politically active, they're just grifting of politics. He's not an activist. He's not anything relevant. He's an entertainer. He wants to tell people how to live, how to not live, what to do. And he's that's not what politics is. A lot of people just vote with their pockets. They're not necessarily voting for anything else but that. And then secondly, for the pigeon guy, we're under a one-party rule. And obviously it's an illegal occupation. We know that. And if they can put whatever president they want in office, then how does it make sense that just because women stop voting, they're going to give you the president that you want? You're literally, by saying that sentence, you're acknowledging that there is darker forces and or a dictatorship already in place. So, okay, we give a right to vote, and all of a sudden they're going to let your guy win. How does that make sense? I don't understand. Let's see. No, we're still going to vote Trump, and we're going to vote. But we're just not going to be engaging in anything else. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Bella?
Yeah, I think that that's part of the issue. I think that both of us have discussed that our goal is to change our party affiliation come, after the decision of whatever happens in the 2024 election, because Florida is a closed primary state, meaning that you can only vote for the Republican incumbent during a primary if you're within the party. We have no choice but to remain registered Republicans in order to be able to vote for Donald Trump. But come winter of 2024, winter is coming, and we're very strongly leaning to changing our party affiliation to independent. To independence and calling it a day, and let other people worry about the primaries, because it's something that we've also discussed significantly. The primaries are a fucking headache, because it's the reality that it's during the primaries when it's selected, when your candidate is selected. It's what they're trying to do to Trump right now with Ron DeSantis and what it is that we're watching. So quite frankly, after doing work for Republican candidates on the ground for the GOP in Miami-Dade, for the state of Florida, after doing all of that and kind of watching the way that anybody that fights the establishment is treated, it doesn't make any sense to continue to simp for the party.
Yeah,
it's just the reality. And the people who think that it's the lesser of two evils, I got to be honest with you, not necessarily, because the worst thing, at least with Joe Biden as president, we know exactly what we're getting. So the majority of you guys that do identify as conservatives are on high alert. You aren't taking the Biden content and thinking, all right, this guy's bad, we got to keep an eye on him. You're keeping up with what it is that he's doing. My fear is that many of you would let your guard down just because they let in a guy that has a Republican R next to his name, and that guy can really truly be the one that ushers in the shit that's really wild. So this idea where it's the lesser of two evils, no, evil is evil, and there's two paths there. It's why there's nothing more important right now than getting Donald Trump reelected and making sure that what we've seen in the past we don't see again.
Yeah, I think I would be more open to them making the case of this is why certain people should vote. Like, I think voting is a privilege and not a right. I actually will say that. And I think back in the day, you had to have property, You needed to pay property taxes. There was like a whole criteria of who was allowed to vote, which is why they call it like racist and whatnot. So I would be actually open to hear that, because the reality is that there's the Pandora's box, like Bella says, is already very open. We're not going back to like the 1930s, 1900s. It's 2023. No matter what fantasy you guys live online of this, we're going back to tradition. That's never going to happen. And it's just a reality. And I'm more interested in seeing how we can make voting a privilege versus a right. But there's women that own property. There's very wealthy women, and we're not going to give up our right to vote, especially the women that are paying a lot of property tax and have businesses, just because you want to win. So I want to win. So just give up your rights. It's that simple. Let me just stand behind the computer, pigeon slayer. And if you want to win, then you have to give up your right to vote. It's too late, because women have been accumulating wealth for a very long time. So
yeah, I think that it's frustrating as a woman to exist right now.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're a conservative woman, you're consistently getting beat up by every angle. I mean, we already know that the left is quite literally trying to rob us of our identity. Chest feeders, men are women, men in skirts are women, all of this that we hear. But then you get on the right and you're basically told that you have no value over very basic things. I'm wearing leggings right now. Half of the conservative male influencers that claim to be conservatives and aren't always the case behind closed doors. Mm-hmm. These men are on the internet saying that I'm less worthy as a woman because I wear leggings on a regular basis. Like I'm someone's wife. I'm someone's wife. I'm not a whore. I'm not whatever other harlots like Bryson Gray called us today. I'm somebody's wife, and it seems incredibly hurtful. I'm not even gonna say disrespectful. I know that you get angry, but I get in my emotions a lot, and to me it's just really hurtful, because you compare that to what I felt in 2018, 2019, the embrace of MAGA, of every aspect of me, of the fact that I was Latina, the fact that I was a former Democrat, like that embrace that I felt from MAGA, that welcome into the MAGA party, if you will, because it wasn't the Republican Party, and to compare that to having to hear from every angle that the DeSantis bros calling us telling us to go clean toilets and token Mexicans, and then you've got men on the internet now that we have to deal with, the same conservative men that are supposed to be leading the society and protecting the women of their society. Those same men are online just beating you up over the most basic, and it's like, shit, like, yeah, okay, I wear leggings because you know what, when you're standing outside of a school board meeting with a bullhorn and
but I don't think we need to explain why. We live in a free society, and to be honest with you, people like what is this, Spring, whatever, the white nationalist that's here, he's a minority and he cares about race. That's literally how he views his world. And I guess his traditionalism of, oh, we got to go back, that's never going to happen. We live in a free society. We don't really have to explain to people why we wear leggings or don't wear leggings. They can marry women that only wear skirts and dresses. That's America. And even in our Constitution, where it literally says the First Amendment talks about the freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and we're just not going back to that. Obviously, this person right here is all race based. I regret voting for Trump in 2020, not 2016. 2016 was a quasi-white nationalist. All he cares about is race, right? Like just race, my race, my race, my race. Hey, listen, I don't have a problem with your race, but if that's how you want to have your worldview, where it's just about the white race, I don't know how old you are. Even if you're 20 years old, maybe you have another 60, 70 years on the planet. And if that's how you want to focus your energy, just to think about that, then I think it's going to be a pretty miserable life.
Because you're always going to be in the minority. Because that's just the reality of where it is that you're at right now. And it's like,
and you're always going to be looking for reasons to,
when people want to an ally to some degree to the cause of, you know,
Yeah.
a potential, you know, white, whatever. I don't want to say the word because I don't know what it is that we can say on here about getting kicked off, but uh, you're gonna be in the minority because like most people just don't think like you. So like all you're doing is really just all right. There's really no progress in your
Yeah.
ideology and the way that you think, or how it is that you want to shape the world. Particularly when you lead with hate. Now, if you're open to having allies in a movement and in support, then maybe you'd find that you'd be a lot more successful. Thank you so much to Ulysses for coming through with a super chat for us. He says, I don't know why people don't realize by now you don't have to be red or blue to still have the right views, principles, and vote for the right things and vote for who shows the best. I'm glad you ladies see that. Absolutely, Ulysses, I agree with you. As both Linda and I are both former Democrats before we became Republicans and started identifying as conservatives. We realized that, you know, we feel very politically homeless because we feel like the Democratic Party abandoned us by going way too far left, and now we're watching the same abandonment take
Yeah.
with the Republican Party by going too far right. So what we've now seen is that these the parties going into an extreme and not allowing moderates to exist is what's problematic. It's why I left the Democratic Party, because I was being forced to either go all the way far left and give up my position where I might be more moderate. And I very much feel like Republicans are making us do the same thing right now. And I'm tired of playing those games. Like
Let me read this. Yeah. There's a comment where somebody said that if I have a problem with trad wives, I do. Actually, I'm trying to look for it. I do have a problem with trad wives, and I have a problem with wannabe Puritans. I don't know if that's how you say it. The reason why I have a problem with these people, it's not because I have a problem with wives or women who are traditional or modest or conservative.
In fact, to preface that, when you go off, the true trad wives are not on the internet paying attention to what Linda's tweeting on a regular basis. And I think that that's important to mention. True trad wives are not on the internet leading these influencer type lives. You're not truly traditional at that point.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know who asked that. I don't know if you deleted the comment, if that's possible. I can't find it. But the point is that here it is. I do have a problem with trad wives, and the reason why I have a problem with trad wives is because a lot of them actually are retired hoes, right? And there's actually nothing wrong with repentance, with forgiveness, with starting a new life. You know, in the case of you're a Christian, with seeking Christ and repenting and starting from new. But what I do find problematic is that a lot of these women become holy or appeal to that crowd and start and get married or get a boyfriend or whatever it is, get pregnant, and all of a sudden they play morality police online. And they quickly forget that at one point they were whores on the internet. They quickly forget that at one point they were having lesbian photo shoots or spreading their ass cheeks with just married graffiti on their legs or, you know, markings on their legs. They forget about that. So now they want to bully the younger women and other women, a lot of times that are harder than them, with stupidity, like, oh, you're not a real conservative, like, oh, this is not what real Christians do.
We're bikini to the beach.
Like, you're I can't believe you like posted a bikini picture. And it's just like, okay, dude, we get it. Like, you don't think it's conservative, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, like, who the fuck are you? Like, you were a whore, and most of you are, actually. A lot of these women are. And then they become trad wives and they stay like just being the morality police. And that's what I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with wives or women that get married or girlfriends or women at all. I have a problem with hypocrisy. It actually all comes down to being a hypocrite and playing morality police.
Correct. When
you are probably full of sin, more sin than others sometimes. So yeah. Trad wives are too busy cooking and cleaning and raising children to be involved with social media. That's very true.
Very true. Joey asked, would you be traditional yourself if you were in a relationship? If I can answer to that, I'm
Where is it?
I'm a married woman
Yeah.
and I'm in a traditional relationship. But again,
Yeah.
if you're gonna call trad wife that I'm in a sundress and I'm baking cookies in the middle of the afternoon and I don't know how to use electronics and I don't work or go to school, then no, that's not representative of my relationship. But my husband and I are in fact very traditional. He holds a very masculine role in our household. He is a leader in our household. I hold very much a feminine position in my home. I am a support system to my husband. My house is impeccably clean. Dinner is always made. All of those things are true about how it is that I'm a wife, but it is also true that I do it in leggings. It is also true that
Yeah.
I have a job and a career that I've worked very hard to have and that helps also bring money into my family's home. So while we do have what I consider traditional values in my home, it's unfortunate that the internet would look at that and look at it as I guess a modern
SM, right?
I don't know
Oh,
what
not real trad, not real trad with a real trad. I
I
guess
don't
they
post. I don't
probably
post cottage core, so I'm clearly not trad.
right.
True.
And
I
then
claim to be traditional. I don't claim to be traditional myself. However, what
based on their definition of tradition,
based on their definition, correct?
yeah,
The leggings
very different,
disqualify
very
me.
different.
The wearing black a lot, I guess, would also disqualify me. But you know, we do have traditional values in our home, and I think that that's the problem with going too far off on either direction. Just because I have a podcast and I talk about politics and I have a career doesn't mean that I don't have a submissive role to my husband at home. It doesn't mean that I don't take on my feminine role very, very proudly and filled with love for my home and for my husband. But yeah, I do that shit wearing leggings. And you know, when that's why hearing these conversations online, you know, particularly when, you know that some of these people are not as saint like as they like to represent themselves on the internet, and to hear somebody talk about, me not showing up in a in a feminine true way, because the internet is so extreme, right? Because if I don't show up that way, then I must be a ran through whore that my husband just got, I just got lucky that some simp fell in love with me or whatever. And that's just not the reality or representative of my marriage in any capacity.
Yeah. And then for the
But
guy
in
would you do a proper wait, you're
so
cutting off.
I want to answer that because Pigeon Slayer asked, if your husband wanted to vote Democrat, would you follow his lead? I'm sure that if my husband wanted to vote Democrat, there would be some kind of logical representation. He's a very smart man, which is why I don't foresee my husband telling me ever that he's going to vote Democrat.
Crazy.
I don't foresee that in any capacity, but I'm sure that if there ever was a Democrat candidate that my husband was interested in voting for, he's a very smart man, and there would be a valid reason as to why to do that. And I'm sure that he would very quickly show me why it would be an intelligent decision to follow him on. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Who? Okay, so would you do a proper debate with Donovan Sharp? Absolutely not. I there's no there's nothing to debate Donovan Sharp. Whenever they book us on these shows, they don't necessarily paint them as a debate. It's more of like, oh, I host a show. It's about getting laid and, learning how to like make money and also like, reaching your personal fitness. They never painted us like, you're going into a debate. Like I wasn't trying to debate Donovan Sharp. Him trying to come after me for a date that I have is not a debate. That's a personal issue. You understand? We're not debating. You debate foreign policy. You debate things like abortion, immigration. Like those are debates. Like I don't debate on, oh, you got a guy that took you on a whatever X amount of date, and let me tell you what that's an issue. No, that's not a debate. That's me allowing you to talk about my private dating life for views. So I don't need to do that. And I don't need to have a stranger when I could have my mother, my family, friends, um, that I talk to about my personal life.
Yeah,
So
no, like with the sole intention of attempting to degrade you on a public platform
right,
for the torture porn type situation that his torture porn, sorry, that his viewers like to watch him engage in.
right,
So, yeah, that's kind of why not, because these aren't people that go into debates with good faith or with good intentions towards the women. They automatically see you as someone that's less than them. I've said this on our community page many times. The Bible calls me to submit to my husband, not to random men on the internet who are disrespectful and are not driven by God in any capacity. So no, Donovan Sharp isn't a man of God. I don't need to submit to him. So why would we put ourselves in a situation where he's going to degrade us and not give us our place as women? Because yeah, I might not do cottage court, but I do expect to be treated as a traditional woman, and I do expect to be treated with at a minimum respect, because again, I do deserve that.
right. Um, Destiny Iris, I love to see Destiny's fanciers. Josh, the fact that Candace Owens called Steven an evil monster, but then put Andrew Tate on a few months later is the definition of hypocrisy. I agree.
This is a
I
great.
agree. Candace Owens loves to defend men. That's her thing. And obviously be very anti-feminism, which most of us are against, like radical feminism. But there is a little bit of hypocrisy when you claim that women do all these horrible things and women make things up, and then you play this tape with a clear intention of hurting Steve Crowder. The tape, as some of us saw, very clear was manipulated, because you see like a minute and 30 seconds, and then it immediately skips to like a minute and 45. So like, where are those 15 seconds, right? I thought it was very hypocritical. I thought she was clearly trying to get revenge from whatever Steve Crowder said about her.
Right, she's very
So,
vengeful in that sense, where it was like 0 to 100 going at Steve Crowder, bringing up his divorce, which we thought was in such bad taste as it was, to even bring that up as content in her page to begin with. And the fact that I told you that just last month she was still talking about it. So there's clear kind of backdoor communication between her and the wife, and she's in the middle of this divorce, completely grifting off of it to create content.
yeah,
It's
I
very.
think I think this is very important. Somebody said young boys see their internet father figures degrade women. So this is something that a lot of men who find it funny to degrade women and call them whores and all these things don't understand. There's always going to be a reaction to both radical feminism. You may have a misogynistic, society or backlash, and then you're going to have radical feminists like come back with a stronger force. And I think that's what could happen, because we were making a lot of progress with showing women that abortion is wrong, that they don't have to spend their entire lives in corporate America. In fact, I was talking about it today, how on TikTok for Gen Z there is a really big trend called soft life, and these are women who are embracing a soft life. They're rejecting corporate America. They are rejecting hustle culture, boss babe, and things of that nature. And they're saying, I need to live a softer life. I'm a woman. I'm wired completely different. My estrogen levels goes up, which affect my hormones, or my hormones go out of whack if I'm under a lot of stress, which then affects my fertility, yada, yada, yada. So there has been those type of trends going around on Gen Z. I'm not saying it's everybody, but there is a lot of people on TikTok. And there is also, I think I did talk about it today. There's also Gen Z that are saying, hey, the trans women, aka men, are misogynistic.
Right.
They're trying to mansplain why they have periods. They're trying to tell us that we have not glory holes. What is it? Extra holes. They call like the vagina like
The bonus hole.
the bonus hole. They're just degrading us. Da, 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 da. So there's been a backlash from Gen Z. I see it on TikTok. I save the videos. So we're making all this progress, right? And then we have us millennials who are voting more conservative. Do you really want to start a gender war before we even get to 50% of women voting Republican? It just seems like a really bad idea.
No, and
Yeah.
like psyop. And again, I'm of the idea where I'm totally willing to give up my right to vote to my husband. So let's say we go back to like a one household vote when you're like a homeowner. I'll totally give my vote to my husband, but before that happens, I need to make sure that that vote isn't being watered down by three assholes that are sitting at their couch
Yeah.
at home not doing anything and misinformed. So
Yeah.
I understand that I'm such a powerful voice in what's happened, and I know that because of the results that we've seen through our efforts in Miami-Dade and in the state of Florida. Because I'm aware of that, that no, I'm not just willing to give up my fucking right to vote just because that's the new favor of the month that you guys think is going to get us this win from the lizard people oligarchy that we've been living in for thousands of years.
Yeah. Yeah. Dim Mac, I'm guessing he's a Conoban Sharp fan. These disrespectful women are very delusional.
Oh, okay.
Well, great.
About what? What are what are we delusional about, bro? Like always, says the anonymous guy on the internet.
We just, nobody owes each other anything. Like people don't owe each other time. They don't owe each other anything. So I just don't think it's that. A cute but cute says some conservatives who trash harlots defend Tate a pimp. Actually, this has been a very eye-opening thing where a lot of conservatives are actually they embrace somebody like Zerka, who is a degenerate, who openly talks about being on coke binges for 4 days at a time, who talks about fucking teens and things of that nature. Andrew Tate, I mean, despite we can debate whether he's guilty of human trafficking or he's not guilty or rape, whatever it is. We don't know. I don't know the case. But clearly he was a Casanova, a player, an e-pimp. He was pimping out women. He's very materialistic. And conservatives seem to very much accept all these people. But God forbid you wear a bikini online. God forbid, So it's a very
of the very same people that will destroy you for less embracing, the most Googled guy on earth because he's going to be going to get you a lot of clicks. So
right.
You're down with him, you're down with his ideology, but then at the same time, you're going to shit on the women that his lifestyle creates. How does create a particular kind of woman.
That's what this guy.
No, Veronica, take that back right now. Veronica.
Wait, you could do it from your end too. Has anybody seen Christ and Macy Gray?
Oh, that's a really good one. No, nobody's ever seen Christ and Macy Gray in the same room. And you know what? Look, Linda has a really low tolerance for bullshit. I'm definitely the more patient one out of the two of us. And here's the thing, Christ, he's really taking shots. Like some of the shots that he's like taking are really low blow and unnecessary. And it seems like, again, this is a constant that we see in the Republican movement. Whenever somebody doesn't like what you have to say, immediately, oh, you're just a hoe, you're just a slut, you're not really a conservative, you're not whatever. And it's so fucking tiring to consistently have the attacks not even be smart attacks, because I love to debate and I am open to debating you all for hours if need be to get my point across, and I have no problem with that. I don't tire out. If you follow me on True Social, you know that this is true. But the problem is that it's like you're you're incapable of even having a smart debate where we can talk and argue the facts, because your attacks are on my character, on my looks, on your look how you dress, or look how you look, or oh, you're Latina, so you must not be that smart, or dollar store Kardashians, or whatever the fuck other name it is that they pull out of their hat, to not have to debate the facts.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Look at this one. Still gotta go back and read all of the Bryce and Linda drama. I caught a few share stories, but he started it with me. He just got triggered over my posts, and he was like, "Oh, everybody who votes for Donald Trump is just a degenerate." And I was like, I don't get it. Like, what did I say that was degenerate? Did I say, like, I don't know, start an OnlyFans and be a capitalist or be a homosexual? I mean, I didn't say anything wrong. I just think he's triggered. I think he hates Trump. And I think from today, what I actually gathered today on the live is that what he was mad about was that I was bullying his friend Isabella Riley. The reason why I was bullying his friend Isabella Riley is not actually because I care that she was a retired hoe. I actually, good for her that she's not a hoe anymore. She's gonna have a child and got married. My problem is that Isabella Riley is one of the meanest women on Twitter, who's a troll, and she makes fun of stage 4 cancer patients. She makes fun of women. She's the one that goes around talking about you're not a real conservative because you wear a bikini to younger girls, despite the fact that everyone knows that she was hoeing all the way to she was like 24 years old. So I think that that's why he was actually very upset at me. He said it on the live. He's like, "Oh, she's a bully, and she's just mad because Isabella's living a really great life." I don't know these people. I just wanted to be a bully, and that was it. Hold on. You called out his scam, and he wanted to make the fight about something else so he can keep selling MAGA merch. Exactly. Like where he got nasty. Whereas when I said, you only got your cloud because Donald Trump shouted you out because you were wearing that goofy hat. And why are you still selling MAGA merch when you shit on Trump every single day?
The real question is why?
Why are you still selling MAGA merch?
But I love the idea. Oh, well, MAGA is a representative of the people of the America, and Trump doesn't really fucking own it. Yeah, the fuck he does.
Por favor.
Like, so cringe to watch people really try and subvert MAGA, which was his literal campaign slogan. It's dumb. You can't just hijack MAGA. You can't do that. It's corny. It's cringe, bro.
Ooh, my light went off. Let me see.
Yeah, conservative women, Kyra says, I'm so tired of conservative women. They are bullies for no reason. Yeah, it feels that way very often, Kyra, very often. And, for us, I was having this conversation with Linda earlier, because we're Latinas, culturally, we're already very conservative, but within our cultures, like even the most conservative people that they're going to church, they're doing all these other things, are not necessarily, that's not necessarily equivalent to like modesty, where like they're like covered up, or that they don't wear bikinis. Like on the contrary, Latin women take a lot of pride in their looks and in the way that they look and that they show up to the world. So it's interesting because it's very contradicting from a cultural perspective with us, not just from a political ideology perspective, but also from a cultural standpoint, to hear all these conservative women say, "Oh, well, you're not really conservative." And it's like, well, I've never been a hoe in my entire life, and I don't have like to regret anything. So when you say that I'm not traditional or whatever it is, and you're trying to like put me down with that, I don't know, it just seems like it's really like unnecessarily mean, very self-serving.
So immoral trash is moral trash. Hedonism, F self is the idol of the day. No apologies. Right is right and wrong is wrong. If you want to call people names in person, you need to find them and call them whores, trash, immoral. You need to start taking your grievances against people to their faces, because you're not really doing anything behind the screen. I'm not going to start dressing different because Star Adams and Bryson Gray told me that I am a harlot because you don't pay my bills. You don't contribute to my life. So you or anyone else, you need to start taking your grievances to church. If people on the internet bother you so much, then just get off the internet. And I think that would be the right solution. Nobody has to take anyone's shit. It's a modern world, and it's really that simple. Um, Conservative women have
But
unchecked power drives.
morality, allow it. Like, let people show up to the world how it is that they want to show up to the world.
Well, like I said, they can just confront them in real life. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do it. That's why I think they should do it. It's not a matter of, oh, you want to fight somebody or something. No, I just think that you should do it. The same way you would talk to a friend. Like if you have so much concern for other women or men or what they're doing, then you need to go address that with them. Because behind the screen, you're not going to do anything. You know, you're just wasting your time. So, conservative women have unchecked power. Conservative women, liberal women, all women have unchecked power. And I would suggest that you focus your energy outside of social media, because if not, you're just going to drive yourself crazy. Nobody has more power than men. Men still are the majority of everything. And I think the war of the genders is just incredibly dumb, because it's not going to
Conservatives have unchecked power drives, because he's not implying that we have power, just that we have got power drives by his comment. I think that that's an easy way to dismiss opinions that are smart and that contradict your bullshit, because we're not feminists. So we're not saying that we want to lead, or we want women equality, or we don't want any of that shit. But we also understand that we live in a society of weak men. Case in point, Joel T from an anonymous account on the internet. We live in a society of weak men that can't even stand behind the words they say on the internet, because they have to hide behind anonymous accounts.
Yeah.
Linda and I have had our lives turned upside down because we're not anonymous.
Yeah.
We've had to deal with stalkers. We've had to deal with lawfare. We've had to deal with threats against our lives because we are not anonymous. So conservative women don't have unchecked power. We just have a testimony that contradicts your bullshit, because we're not feminist. We're talking from a point that requires you all to step up.
Imagine, look at this comment. This is how I know you have to be under 21, because retarded, let me tell you. It's up to the internet tribe men like Andrew Tate and Bryson Gray to check their power. Andrew Tate may even go to jail. He doesn't live in America. He's not an American idol. Andrew Tate is like in Romania. And Bryson Gray is not anyone of value that anybody would consider listening to. He has nothing that people look up to. He's not rich. His wife is not Melania Trump. He's not doing anything relevant except some MAGA raps for boomers. He's grifting off the Trump culture. There's nothing that Bryson Gray has other than his loud mouth, that every time he opens, he sounds like a dog, because I've heard him debate and he's just like fucking barking. He doesn't actually articulate anything. In fact, most people just say that they kind of drag him on debates. So that's not really somebody that, we would consider a example of a traditional high value man. I guess he wasn't being serious, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, no.
This is so tiny. They're Trump loyal. I almost. Oh, Tree Logic. She's cool, but I think she's a DeSantis supporter. The black girl, Tree Logic. I could do it. Yeah, I'm not as pretty without makeup. I'm a 4'10", and that's fine. You don't have to deal with me.
A 4'10" that you still don't have access to. So
you don't have to deal with me. I still look better than a lot of people without makeup. So whenever you find someone better than me, make sure you show it off on the internet. Who's tiny? They're Trump loyal. Who? Wait, who's tiny?
I haven't. Does she have a YouTube channel, or is it like on Twitter?
Tiny, they're Trump loyal. I don't know.
Yes, we're in a cult. Booga wooga wooga.
Who's saying that we're in a cult?
No, I mean they're like good. I thought that the Trump loyal was like a bad thing. So just in case. Well. 45.
Actually, they invited me back on Valuetainment the day that Nick Fuentes was supposed to be there. They just didn't tell me that it was going to be Nick Fuentes. They don't really tell you who's going to be like the special guest. But the thing is, we record on Thursdays. So I told them before, I'm like, Thursdays, it's really hard for me, really complicated, because I would have to come back home and change and stuff and then go to the podcast. So they invited me back like the last, like 2 days before, and I didn't go. So yeah, they're not mad at me. I give them ratings. Why would they be mad at me? You know?
For what? The only one that's mad is Donovan, because he really wanted, I guess,
Yeah.
body slam Linda and tell her, get the fuck out. And that would have made all the incels cheer in unison, and it would have been great. And it's like, it's so obvious that what they want is a safe space.
Who, hold on, the Tree Logic calls herself a Republican, but not a Republican, but right winger. She calls herself a transracial rooftop curry. I've interacted with her before on Twitter. I know who she is. Yeah, I'll reach out to her. You know who actually reached out to us? The virgin that goes to whatever podcasts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I gotta, she was on my DM. I gotta look at the DM and see what's up. But
We'll set up.
Donovan was mad. Somebody's been, yeah, he was mad. I don't know why he was fucking mad. Donovan is just an angry little troll. Like, we could have been cool, you know? And I had nothing to say about his boundaries. I actually said it. I'm like, hey, if those are your boundaries and your woman is like agreeing with them, who the fuck am I to say anything? But he's crazy. He's just a fucking crazy person. All right, let's use super chat.
It doesn't like garner a lot of respect. Like I just don't see him as a high value man. Like, even compared to other men in the space, he seems like a loser compared to all of the other guys in the space that I don't necessarily have the utmost respect, as far as like saying they completely define high value man. But you know, Jay Wilder's actually rich. Donovan Sharp is like ugly and not, and his doesn't have access to like super hot women or anything like that. You know, so I guess that I just don't see why somebody has to deal with the fact that he's like disrespectful and he's very gross.
Ulysses says, I have to say, I can't stand haters. I'm only here towards y'all, but in general, I just don't get the point of when people watch and comment on people's videos they don't like. Y'all are good in my book. Thank you so much. It's just trolls. It happens to everybody. It's not a big deal. What I do find crazy is that a lot of people like to follow those who they hate. Like, I can't necessarily do that. Like, for example, with Bryson Gray, I haven't liked him in a very long time. So what I did immediately when I started posting on Twitter was completely mute him, so I wouldn't interact with his content, and therefore I wouldn't get triggered and answered or start an argument with him. So I completely muted him for months, right? And he can't do that because he has to emotionally reply. And yeah, that's what haters do. Look at this guy. Bryson Gray real mad. No, he's so mad. He's so mad. And now he's like on Twitter, like, oh, they threatened me. I told you to come to Miami and just call me a harlot to my face, you know, and call her, you know, to her face.
Yeah, because he's
have a conversation with us and tell us why.
He's so unaware that he doesn't even realize that, like, I'm not involved with the Twitter page at all. He's like, look how both of them dress. They're both harlots. It's like, he has no idea that I'm like a married woman. But he's like, they dress like that on the regular. What? First of all, what? Second of all, I've never met you in my life.
I dress like this on the regular.
I've never seen you. Like, I'm in sweats the majority of my time, again in my leggings shirt. So this idea on a regular basis, because he sees a picture that we took during a photo shoot, you know, the promotional material for our podcast. It's so hypocritical because you don't fucking know us. So you do come off as triggered because it's a really personal attack on people that you don't know anything about. Thank you so much.
Jojo. Oh, Joseph, how are you? Hi, Joe. This is Dion from the Cabo Bar.
Oh, hey, sir. How's it going? We got that. Look at our boy in the chat, Bryson Gray. Steve. He's 5'1" in a lame rapper. Wait, he's 5'1"? So not
Who's
tell me
5'1"? Who's 5'1"? Who's 5'1"?
Bryson?
Oh, Bryson is 5'1" on a lame rapper.
What?
He is kind of lame.
No.
Listen, I supported Bryson
Don't tell
Gray.
me you can see the top of his head. Don't tell me you can see the top of his head, homie. Do not tell me.
It's me because I'm way taller. So
Significantly taller. Linda's built like an Amazonian.
I'm way taller.
An Amazonica.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, Bryson just needs to get tuned.
It's just, this is his new grift. His new grift is to be far right as he possibly can, say it's all in the name of God, be as nasty as he can be to everybody else that doesn't meet the internet persona standard that he set by himself. Meanwhile, I'm sure that he's got people in his life that don't live by Christ standards or whatever standards it is that he set for himself, and he just gets to degrade women, talk down on them, get involved in women problems, because again, this isn't this is the part where this isn't masculine. If Isabella Riley is not a nice person, she's been very mean to many women for a long time, and Linda has a tendency to call those things out, and Linda's gonna call it out, and Isabella might come back, and then Linda's gonna go back, and we're women doing women things, because at the end of the day, gender roles exist, and this is the kind of shit that women tend to do sometimes. Why is there a man involved in the middle of that? Why did Bryson feel like he had to step up for Isabella's honor when Isabella's number one married?
Yeah.
And step up for her honor any and all day. Number two, who the fuck are you? Nobody tagged you. You weren't involved in the conversation.
I never spoke to him. I never disrespected him.
He had already commented on another thread about repeating the 19th. So we're talking about 2 threads now. So he was instigating it. He wanted it to go down. And then he wants to act like the victim. He doesn't know Linda. He doesn't know me. He saw Latinas. He saw our picture. He saw that Linda has great tits. He saw that we were 2 girls. And that was enough for him to go off and call us whores, harlots, whatever, do a live, do comments, get pissed, start tagging us. My brother, man, sir, I have a job. When you were trying to tag people to go on the live, people have jobs.
For real. My followers were like DMing me, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You want you to go on the live?" I'm like, First of all, I don't owe him anything, and second of all, he's like, "Oh, the people that had me on their mouth, we didn't do that. You did that yourself." And
eso es cosa de jeva. Like, honestly, eso es cosa de jeva. Like,
that's what Shuda said. Hey, Shuda, that is women energy getting involved in female conversations.
What are you doing? Like, yeah, I get it. It's petty. Girls are gonna go, but that's what women do sometimes. Like, all right, whatever. That's why women shouldn't be leaders. The entire other conversation, fine. But that's what women do. So what the fuck are you doing as a grown ass man getting involved because you got a white knight for the chick that's mad nasty to all women 24 hours a day, 7 days a fucking week, and she's married. She's got a husband that's going to take care of her.
Yeah.
That's it. And he didn't get involved. So shut the fuck up.
Who was hanging out with Ye?
And also stop selling MAGA merch.
For real. Stop selling fucking
MAGA.
MAGA.
Like, stop selling MAGA merch. Like, it's not petty. It's actually the definition of a grifter. He said today on his live, because I love that he titled it, I thought somebody wanted to smoke. I'm super open to debating Bryson, by the way. I would
but also nobody wanted to smoke. Like, you came after us. Like,
right.
Nobody wanted to smoke.
I have an opportunity to do so because, again, I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on, if he wants to come fight with me on Truth Social, I'm more than open to do that. But it's like, who wants to smoke? Bro, you're talking to 2 chicks. I don't care.
Stop, like,
whatever we are. Like, how are you a big man? How are you such a big, strong alpha male fighting 2 chicks on the internet because they were fighting with another chick? That's not manly. That's not traditional. That's bitch shit. Just flat out, it just is.
Oh shit.
Bryson needs to become a welder or something. His rap is garbage. Bro, I mean, like, everybody was just happy to have a little, like, you know, a little hip hop that we could, like, jam to when we were doing our little Trump thing or whatever, but it's really not that fucking serious.
I just don't understand his nastiness. Like, it's just not necessary. Like, MAGA hasn't done anything to him. He could have continued to criticize Trump or whatever it is, but, like, even with the gay stuff, Trump was a supporter of LGBT since 2016. So
Right.
that means that you supported him this whole time, and now you're bringing up pictures from 2016, which was literally 7 years ago. Like you're actually holding on to talking.
Right, you're exposing your hypocrisy.
How is that any different? Yeah, it's really weird.
What do we have here? Big clips.
Hold on, let me put it. Big clips. Damn, wish you guys was on the podcast with Great Collaboration with Nick Fuentes. Yeah, I was very sad, and yeah, I wanted to be there. I didn't find out until like I tuned in to the show, and then I was like, oh shit, what's going on here? We'll have to see this tree of logic.
Roger Stone to settle the beef. He's friends with both sides. Roger has enough heat on his side. He can't be out here like.
For what? For who?
He's made peace with us. He's made peace on behalf of other people with us before, though.
Dude, did you see what I sent you today about El Americano media?
I saw what you sent me about, and you said that this was coming a year ago. You said, my dog said this was coming a year ago. You did say that this was coming a year ago. Everything is imploding. That was another thing. Was it him? No, it was somebody in the comments that they're like, oh, there's thousands of other conservative Latinas for us to go in. No, the fuck there isn't, bro.
I wish there were.
Sorry, you're stuck here with us. No, the fuck there isn't. There isn't a lot of us. No, there isn't. There's not a lot of Latina commentators talking from me and Linda's perspective. I'm sorry, but there just isn't. There's not a lot of them. You're gonna find a lot of Black commentators that are Republicans. You're gonna find a lot of gay commentators that are Republicans. Yeah. You're so significantly even more Asians, but you're not gonna find a lot of Latinas because I promise you, me and Linda are like the out of like a handful of people. Mexican Dad, Karina Manuela, Natalie Denise, and yeah, it's pretty much fucking it. And Nick Fuentes, if you count him as Latino. Oh, there's no beef with
Is this considered female red pill? I'm legit asking because I don't know. No, we're just honestly like vibing and talking. There's no like real definition to what we're saying right now. We were just talking about certain things that are happening within like the internet conservative movement. This is not necessarily like the red pill women space or anything. It's just us talking shit online late night. We wanted to give it a try and test an audience of 10:30 and up. So it's actually pretty good. We've been, it's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty much that. I don't know what. There's no beef with Roger Stone. What she was saying is that Roger Stone has already a lot of things going on to like stressing.
Try to like make peace between us and Bryson when we don't want to make peace for him. He's not a nice person. Yeah. He's not a nice person, and he said like, oh, the definition of grifter is somebody taking advantage of somebody. Yeah, when people don't know that you're not supporting MAGA because they're not on Twitter, because you don't talk about that shit on Instagram. So you've got all of these Instagram followers that still think that you support MAGA, where you use your little shit so they can click on your little stores and all of your bullshit, and they're buying MAGA hats from you. That's exactly what you're doing. You are scamming your following. You are scamming people because they're supporting from you. Why can't you think we can't sell MAGA merch?
Mm-hmm.
Selling MAGA merch alone, if you want to get MAGA merch, you should be going to the Trump store. Let's just start there. Number that you have MAGA merch on your profile, and then you have the audacity to say things like Trump is a gay Zionist or a transgender Zionist or whatever the hell it was that he said. Bro, what are you doing? Like you are by definition a grifter. By definition, you are a grifter. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes. Hold on. What happened with El Americano? So today it's not in the mainstream media yet, but apparently the main guy, his name is like Ivan Hidalgo. Apparently he's literally on the run, like a refuge, that he embezzled like $40 million from the Republican Party. And he's on the run, and then he dipped, and none of the employees like have gotten paid or anything, and everything went to shit. And I actually texted somebody that I know within that company, El Americano, to see if it was true, and she always answers, and she didn't answer. And then we started texting like other people to see like, hey, like what's actually going on. And like no one answered. All the employees that we know are fucking missing. Sorry, I didn't want to say that word. They're all missing. So we don't know. Like I think that like literally he just like took the money and rode out to like Latin America probably. So that's that. Yeah. What did you think of Fuentes on the Sauce cast? So I obviously saw what they were trying to do to him, which was to corner him between three people, because I don't think the fourth girl was really talking that much at all. I mean, I didn't see her. I was also just listening when I was getting ready to go to our show. But I'm pretty sure that it was Catalina, the Jewish bald guy, and then the other guy, whatever, Michael, that were mostly like attacking him. I honestly, I do think that, I don't think that Adam, I don't want to say he wasn't trying to set him up. Like, Adam's not like that. Like, obviously he wants to get like he wants to get like, you know, numbers and views, but I don't necessarily think, because at the beginning he even said like, this is my show, calm down, let me ask the questions. Like, he wanted to take control of the panel. And you know, I thought Nick was obviously like running circles through these adults, because they're all, I think Carolina was the one that was young closest, and the other girl to his age. The other men were like in his 40s, almost twice his age. And you know, Nima's talking about his penis, talking about you have a micro penis. And I don't know the Ali Nick situation like that at all. Like I don't know how close they were. I don't know if it's true. I think that they try to ask that question. I didn't get to watch the end, so I'm not sure if he was able to address it or what happened. But I thought that Nima looked like a clown just talking about Nick's penis.
What kind of
weird? It was so weird. It wasn't funny, because like if you like take a job with somebody, whatever, and it's just like, oh, because you got a small dick, like it has to be like part of like the comedy, you know, situation. It can't just be like, oh yeah, because you have a micro dick. Like it doesn't, it's weird, you know? Yeah. And
yeah, I thought that look, here's the thing. I think that everybody tends to have the same interview with Nick. And it tends it just, it feels like I'm watching the same interview over and over again. Everybody's like shocked to hear about his points, and then they want to ask him, you know, like, what are your thoughts on the Holocaust, and what are your thoughts on interracial dating, and what are your thoughts on this? And it's just always to get those like those moments of like, oh, you know, the alleged white supremacist and like what his views are. And it's like, honestly, we've been thinking about this, because it's like we love an opportunity to interview a lot of people, and Nick Fuentes has always been one of those characters for us where it's like, okay, but what about like other things, like conversations of like, we disagree with him on him saying that the age of consent should be lowered to 16 years old. I'd love to have that conversation with him and truly have it from an effective way, where maybe there's even some progress where it's like, you don't see how it is that ideology could be potentially problematic. I'd love to have a conversation with him about his Catholic faith. Was it an upbringing thing? Does he ever felt like he's personally had like a come to Jesus type of like real reality moment, like through his faith? Like have a conversation from a truly, you know, he feels very strongly about, you know, women not being educated, where, you know, Linda and I both come from immigrant families that are raised quite differently. They want their kids to like excel and have an education and have good opportunities presented to them. So we'd like to have those debates on with him. I've honestly, like, I feel like it's a little cringe at this point to continue to have the same fucking conversation with Nick, like the Holocaust, the race baiting, the thing. And it's like, that's it. We get it. And here's the biggest problem with Nick Fuentes, which is like, you don't have to agree with what the guy says, but we do live in a time where if you're saying the wrong things that piss off enough people, you can be silenced. And is that fair? If you're truly a free speech absolutist, then why isn't there room in free speech for somebody like Nick Fuentes, despite his conversation not being one that everyone agrees with or that's controversial? Why is it that he doesn't have the same rights as everybody else to have?
And I think this comment right here that he says, if you knew the elite Nick situation, you wouldn't care to defend it. We're not defending him. Somebody super chatted us and asked, what is your opinion on the show? What did you think about the show? I'm giving you my opinion on the show, despite whatever situation there was going on between the Nick and Ali. whether he was covering up for pedophiles or not. You can send us that information. We can talk about it later. It doesn't change the fact that these adults look like idiots on the show. It doesn't change the fact because Nima was trying to bring up like, oh, like you watch kitty porn and all these things, and but he never specified anything. He never tried to show any proof or what he got this information from. We're not friends with Nick. We're millennials. Like we're not in this demographic. We're not in the America First. We don't watch him. So we only know about him because obviously it's controversial. We watch his clips on Twitter and whatnot. So we're not necessarily here saying like, oh, well, Nick is, we're defending Nick. We just
No, on the contrary. Look,
I just like I don't know what to tell you. I think it's pretty ridiculous that a grown man who's literally twice his age is talking about his micro dick as opposed to saying, "Hey, dude, I think it's wrong that you believe in lowering the age of consent to 16. I have a daughter. Da da da. I'm 42." He didn't do that. He was just like it was a very weird attack.
No, it doesn't, and Cara made this point. She's like, I think that Nick should have a platform, but I just don't like him or any of his followers anymore. And, Cara, this is a great segue to kind of bring the topic back to where it was that we started. We've had run-ins with the groupers. Like the groupers sometimes are some of also very abusive where they'll see you that you're wearing a bikini at the beach and they're like, what are you doing? You're a whore, honey pie, you're like 1,000 of these things. You Jezebel, you whatever it is they call you. But again, as free speech absolutists, like we genuinely feel like Nick Fuentes, he tries to come off as a non-confrontational guy. He knows that he's got opinions that are definitely, attention garnering, if you will. I understand that he knows that, but there's no justification where I feel that people should be deplatformed, where I feel that people should be silenced, where I feel like people should have their quality of life affected because of opinions that they hold. People should be allowed to have shitty opinions. Everyone isn't gonna like Latinos. Am I gonna think that somebody who calls me a token Mexican and tells me to clean toilets, am I gonna think that that person is awful and not want something to do with them? Sure, that could be the case. But those people are also allowed to exist and lead lives and have bank accounts and Uber Eats accounts and all these other things that for some reason Nick Fuentes isn't allowed to have.
I want to address this comment right here. He has a platform because it's dying and it's a social club that people grow out of when they turn 18. And I just want to let you know that we live in Miami, so obviously it's very Latino, and there's not a lot of like white nationalists or anything like that. Everyone here is pretty moderate, despite the fact that they support Trump. And there's a lot of people who are older, who are millennials, that really like Nick Fuentes. And I actually hear it all the time, even from conservative like influencers. They just won't talk about it because it's so controversial. It's such a forbidden thing to like or listen to Nick Fuentes that they don't talk about it. So I disagree. I don't think it's just people that are 18 years old. Again, this is not a defense for Nick Fuentes. This is just my observation from people that are like texting me like, oh, did you see Nick? He's so base, da, 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 like, like complimenting him, which are older than him for sure. Yeah. So, yeah.
Somebody asked us, and I want to answer the question, why did you ever join the GOP? Mostly because of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Mostly
I get this cat.
Because we understood that having a strong GOP at a local and state level would be beneficial to Donald Trump, because we knew that that would be beneficial to his presidency. And that's why it was that we joined. Also, we felt very politically abandoned by the Democratic Party because, again, we felt that we were being pushed far left when we wanted to remain in a moderate position. And then, like most people, there's a saying that says, like, if you're not, if you're not a Democrat in your 20s and you don't have any heart, if you're a Democrat past your 20s and you don't have any brain, you get to a point where you start realizing, hey, wait a minute, my political ideology really isn't all that liberal or progressive. I'm actually more conservative leaning when I start thinking about X, Y, Z. And then you have that awakening and you're like, oh, well, maybe I'm most represented by the GOP because you live in this illusion of the two-party system. And then you get fucked over by the GOP time after time after time at a national level, at a local level, at a peer-to-peer level. And once you start seeing that, you really start feeling like, wait a minute, well, maybe this, I don't, maybe I'm not really represented by either party. And again, I think it has to do with the further extreme, right? We're watching the right go to this really far extreme where it's like they don't want gay people to exist. They don't want any kind of like abortions to disappear from one day to the next. And it's like, that's cool that those are things that you want, but like it really takes the party to a far right direction that excludes a lot of these people that are moderates and find themselves in the middle, and even widening that even further where it's like even people that might not have been moderates and considered.
Well, hold on. I think you need to address further because this guy is really focused on the race. And I think that, no disrespect, I think that you're still very much on the 2016, 2017 talking points, which is Donald Trump is a racist, Donald Trump is this, Donald Trump is that. And that's just simply not true. Like saying that Mexicans, that people coming through the border are rapists, it's factually true. Is it every single person coming through the border? No. But we know the criminals come to the border because they can't legally access this country. There has no racist that piece of legislation that Donald Trump did in 2016 to 2020. In fact, what he,
contrary
on the in fact, what he did do, since I guess you're a Latino, let me just first talk about DACA. When Barack Obama in 2012 gave the Dreamers a path to citizenship, he actually said in his speech, and I'll never forget, that was not a path. Sorry, that was a temporary solution, and it wasn't a path to citizenship. And when Donald Trump came into office, those kids who were now grown adults still had no pathway to citizenship. They had to renew their status, their DACA thing, year after year after year. And so Donald Trump comes in and says, actually, I propose that I give you guys a path to citizenship. Should you not have a criminal record, have a job, pay taxes, X, Y, and Z, a bunch of different criteria in exchange for the border wall. He proposed that 3 times, and 3 times the Democrats, headed by Nancy Pelosi, said no. They didn't want to give him the money to fund the wall and border security, and then they ended up actually just not getting a deal for DACA. Guess what? It is the year 2023. The Dreamers still don't have a pathway to citizenship. Let's start with that. The second thing is that he also did criminal justice reform, which actually pissed off a lot of the more conservative voters. And that was something that Barack Obama promised to do, criminal justice reform. Never happened.
No. This guy's too far gone, babe. This guy's too far gone. I mean, it's 2023, David. It's
yeah. No, I mean, if you're, dude, I'm not like, yeah, you're talking about 150 years from now. Then
I don't even, and honestly,
crazy.
like.
That's not crazy. He's talking about the Central 5 Park.
It's not crazy. 2020, bro. Like we're past the race wars. If you can point us without no feelings involved, you can tag it in the chat right now. If you can point towards any legislation that Donald Trump passed in the 4 years that he was president that was in any way discriminatory or oppressive towards Black people or any other minority for that matter, then I am willing to entertain this conversation. But right now, speaking about propaganda and sensationalism, the Central Park 5 are irrelevant to me. It's a story that we didn't know what was going on at that time. We didn't know how the story was was evolving. We don't know how the mainstream media was framing things. We don't know anything. Yeah. You watch the documentary on Netflix, and now I'm sure that everybody thinks that they've got everything figured out about the Central Park 5. But the reality is that we were not around through that time. The majority of us weren't. And even if we were, we're not going to remember exactly what was going on at the exact point that Donald Trump takes out the ad. It's a dumb conversation to have. So if your claim is that we joined a racist party, because I want to make sure that there's no confusion. Just because we say that we don't feel identified by the Republican Party means that we're absolutely not represented by the Democrat Party either. Make no mistake, we are politically homeless. But if your claim is that the Republican Party is a racist party because of Donald Trump, then I need you to point me to the actual legislation that Trump passed in his 4 years.
I believe that somebody would care about the fucking like 5 people that died like 50 years ago.
Yeah. So if you can point me through that legislation, if you can point me towards that legislation that you believe was oppressive To minorities, I'm willing to have this conversation with you, but the reality is, babe, that you're living in 2023. Like, this is the kind of atraso that I don't even know how to bring you to where we're at, because there's a lot of misconceptions there in your ideology. The problem is that you have to tie their path to citizenship to him building the wall and using. Right. The answer, well, I mean, first of all, that yes, people who serve presidents, people who serve as presidents and are going to run for a second term do want bragging rights for their accomplishments. It's not bragging for no reason. It's maintaining campaign promises. And he did want the wall. And I'm not quite sure why it is that anybody would be against the wall to begin with. A wall will discourage people from crossing a dangerous border. As a Latina, I don't want to see people from South America or even people from the Caribbean trying to make their way through a dangerous border that's filled with all sorts of natural disasters that could possibly go wrong, that can get somebody hurt, drowned, killed, a broken leg. I don't want people to become victims of trafficking, human trafficking, or forced labor when they get into this country. I don't want people to come in illegally and therefore be at a disadvantage with people that come into the country legally with papers. I don't want that for other Latinos. So I do want a wall. I want a very, 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 very big, long wall that's going to discourage people from illegally trying to come into this country, because I want Latinos to have a fair way of coming into this country, the same way that the Canadians can, the same way that a European can. I don't want my people to have to be forced to dangerously crossing a border to enter the greatest country that has ever existed. So yes, give me a big ass wall. I want a big ass wall.
Built the wall. Built the wall. Built the wall. Ooh, put me in, coach. He's like, put me in. Put me in, coach. Put me in, coach.
In 2023, we're two Latinas in the GOP. Like,
look at this. Let's switch the subject from this guy. Do Latino fathers have issues with their daughters dating white types? I would say no.
No.
Majority percent of the times it's gonna be a no.
No.
I don't think that will be an issue.
I mean, honestly, like I don't remember like actually ever dating too many white guys, because I like that my dad is able to communicate. My dad doesn't speak English he doesn't have very good looking English. Mm-hmm. So I like the idea of my husband, speaking Spanish and being able to talk to him, but never that he would be like against me dating a white guy.
I don't think so. Nope. Donald Trump's position, voter rights, especially to protect black voters in the South, is to ignore. And he tried to pass restrictive voting rights. Okay.
Okay.
You don't have to vote for Trump. It's a beautiful thing about this country.
Don't vote for Trump. Don't worry about us. Like, honestly,
you don't gotta worry about us. You don't gotta worry about us. David, you don't gotta worry about us.
It's unfortunate that you are misinformed, beloved. You're just misinformed. It's honestly like it's 2023 and you're bringing up like mainstream media talking points from 2019, 2020, and it's like mad. It just makes me me da lástima. I don't have another word but to tell you that me da lástima, because it's unfortunate that you don't know any better and that you really believe that. Oh, fact.
Why don't I like passport bros? The reason why I don't like passport bros is because I think they're sexual degenerates. And so I was actually in the Airbnb rental business / I had an agency at a travel agency in Colombia before COVID. I had it from 2016 to 2020. And we organized private travel in mostly Cartagena and Medellin. And the problem was when I first started going to Cartagena, Medellin to meet these house owners and try to brokerage deals so that I could rent their properties and put the trips together. I also met with a realtor, and I basically, and throughout my whole research, I found out that they hated Americans. They hated these males because of all of the drugs and prostitution that they would bring. In fact, they had to change the laws of Airbnb in Medellin because they were renting these homes and they would have like prostitution rings. They started doing a lot of degenerate things, so they get a really bad reputation. Cartagena was a little bit different, but actually by 2018, the same thing ended up happening because a lot of these men go and they're there for the women, and they're not there for trad wives and trying to like get these like good girls. Like, no, they're like one prostitutes, they want drugs, and they want to have a good time. So with that being said, I think that it's they're not being sincere about what they want. Like whenever they say like, oh, you women are so narcissistic and they're all about looks, and look at what they say. Well, you're not going to like Ecuador to find your trad wife. You never hear these people say like, oh, I'm going to Bahamas, I'm going to Haiti to get a trad wife. I'm going to Nicaragua to get a tribe. It's always going to Colombia, you know. It's always for some reason going to Colombia, and then obviously you got the Asians that want to go to Thailand. So I think they're pretty much degenerates.
Yeah, we said also again, watching that Fresh and Fit episode of them being in Colombia and watching that little cringe guy that was like hosting them there made me so angry because here's this little nerd gringo that probably has a really difficult time dating in America. And now he's in Colombia and he thinks like, oh, I'm so popular. I'm hosting these parties and girls always want to be around me, and girls always want to be around you because you expose on the podcast that you have drugs on you, that you're throwing parties, that you have access to foreigners with green cards that could potentially get these women out of poverty. So what you are I have a problem with it for two reasons. Number one, because a lot of these men go out there and they're trying to buy their way into a higher value woman. And the way that they do that is unfortunately by taking advantage of a situation where they might be in, whether it's living in poverty, needed access to a green card. But secondly, it's because it's very hypocritical because it becomes the very transactional relationship that they leave the United States so that they don't have to deal with, which is that then the woman is really only dating you and your value is only dependent on you getting them a green card or you bringing them to the United States or giving them American dollars or buying them things. So it just becomes the exact kind of scenario that we're critical of when we're talking about dating in the States. So it just doesn't seem organic. It doesn't seem honest. It doesn't seem honest.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Hold on one second.
Oh my god, that's so annoying. Okay, everybody's a racist, David. Every single person is a racist. Everybody in the Republican Party is a racist. So yeah, don't worry.
Hold on one second. This is where I separated myself from the Bryson Gray, I guess, is crying about us on when I put remember we got him canceled. He's like, this is why I separated myself from the wicked world and these people. And I was like, you don't deserve to be part of MAGA. You don't deserve to perform the GOP with MAGA. You don't deserve. You have been calling us a cult. And Donald Trump, fucking Zionist homo, or what is it? Homosexual Zionist homosexual. Why do you think that you're owed the right, the privilege to perform with Trump? Get the fuck out of here.
I need a second to address this. Oh my God.
You still here?
Man, I need you to understand something. The racist voter laws that this man are talking about was when they were making claims that Black people couldn't access the internet or access to ID cards. Please walk up to a Black person and tell them that you're sorry that they don't have the ability to access a driver's license or the internet or an ID card. And I want you to see how it is that they will laugh at your face. My God, how fucking annoying. Stop spamming our fucking chat, please. I don't want to block you, but stop spamming our fucking chat. Yeah.
User in timeout. Let's put him on timeout.
Just a little bit. We go live on Thursday again. Come back on Thursday and ask more questions on Thursday. But for right now, está un poquito pesado. And like our boy Shuda said, it's only Tuesday, Papo, even though it's Wednesday. Por favor.
Relax, por favor.
What do we have here? Big
clips. Native men of
Oh
the
shoot,
Dominican
sorry.
Republic are starting to hate passport bros. It
Fine.
went for them. Yeah. Um, I mean, I don't know what to say. That's why I don't like them. If
Passport bro.
somebody falls in love naturally, if somebody ends up getting with each other, has a natural relationship, like I think that's beautiful. Whether it's you meet a person in Colombia or like Medellin, I don't care. So
And then
yeah,
it's also like, of course, of course, if they were, I think that that's the other question where it's like, you don't want to go to Colombia to get married. You're not looking for a wife. You're going to Colombia because you want to have access to a lot of different women to have sex with, and that's the priority. So yeah, going to a foreign third world country where people live in poverty compared to you, so that you can take advantage of women in that kind of situation, yeah, so that you can run through them, yeah, that's American privilege at its finest,
yeah.
which is a whole nother kind of privilege that does exist.
You should have Richard Spencer on your show. You probably agree with him a lot. Is Richard Spencer like still a thing? I have no idea. You don't want to go to DR. Yeah, DR is becoming really bad. I actually heard that from somebody that
Where
recently went.
that PR was bad, and that was
I heard him was bad. Do passport birds watch? Oh my god, the passport bros on the 90-day fiance on TikTok kill me.
die.
Oh my god, I like literally tears in my eyes. I have a new one saved. There was a black guy with the Asian woman, but
You
there's
should
another
upload.
one. No, there's a Russian one. I didn't send you the Russian one. That
Oh,
he was like, so like you won't want me if I can't provide it. And the girl was like, and you could tell she was ethnic Russian, like super Russian. So she's looking at him like, what the fuck are you? And she was like, I don't understand. Like, what are you talking about?
and I
He's
should
like,
clarify. Somebody's like,
he's
do
like,
you
would you be with me? She goes, would you be with me if I was ugly and fat like that? She was like, would you be with me? He's like, oh, so you won't be with me if I'm not a provider? And she was like, what are you saying? Like, would you be with me if I was ugly and fat? And he was like, he couldn't even say anything.
well, because cultures have expectations, and that's what they don't talk about. And again, I don't think that all passport pros are losers. Honestly, I'm sure that some of them are not. That particular guy that I was talking about was. But again, if people are going over there to truly find someone that's even if they were going out there for the textbook of what they're saying, if you were truly going out there to find a submissive wife, I probably wouldn't have a problem with it. But the reality is that that's not what they're going out for. In fact, we made this comment on Twitter, and Linda got a reply back from a guy that was like, oh, of course, this is the problem, passport bros, and they're just going over there to be valued because you Western women and you don't appreciate us, and blah 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 blah. Besides, I love the firehead that I'm getting out here, which is like, well, you're not going out there to find a wife, and this is why it's problematic. Like, you're out there talking about who's giving you head while you're out there because it's cheap head.
Oh yeah, she was like, oh, I got the hottest bitch ever to give me the best head. I'm like, then don't bad trip me and tell me that you're out there because you want to find the most modest traditional women when you're on the internet saying I'm getting the best head of my life.
Yeah, I love this one. I love this one. Have you really seen short broke dudes get chicks? Yes.
What?
Yes.
What?
1,000 times. 1,000 times. Yes. This is why we're dying to have the male panel, because 1,000 times.
Not the short kinks.
Bro, what? Not the like. I honestly don't know how people. I don't understand how Fresh and Fit really uses that short thing. Like, oh, women don't want short guys. That is crop of shit. Every single woman on there, when they ask them that, when they go on these shows and they're like, oh, what are you looking for? So would a man have to be taller to you? And they're like, yeah, does a guy have to be over 6 foot tall? Yeah. The truth is that women just want men to be taller than them. The average woman is 5'2". 5'2". That means that there's a plethora of heights that a man can have to still be taller than a woman. Short kings,
confidence is
so much play. Now, I know that you said short and broke. Yes. Now, hold on. Let me talk about it. Short and broke are funny. They got the riz. They're swag. Tienen muela. Sometimes they're even known for being hung or being good in bed. That's the rumors that go around, and sometimes they get played. But I promise that this idea that short guys or that broke guys don't get played. Here's, if I would ever go on Fresh and Fit, which you guys know how I feel about it, because number one, nobody's invited us on Fresh and Fit, so there's not even any point to talk about it. But if I was ever to go on Fresh and Fit, I would be a disruptor of the panel, because as soon as he asks women like, oh, what do you want? You know, does a guy have to make 6 figures, and does a guy have to be 6 foot, or does whatever? Then I would want to ask every girl there, have you ever gotten your heart broken by a broke guy? How many of you have gotten your heart broken by a broke guy? And I promise you, every single girl there will raise their hand, because yeah, you can sit here, and as a woman, you can sit here and draw up a Prince Charming of all of the guys that you want. But do you know how many women are out there handing over their tax refund to their deadbeat boyfriends so they could ride around in their cars because they're in love? Women are assholes. We're fucking idiots sometimes. Yes, we fall in love with short guys, with broke guys, with ugly guys. It happens all the time. And John, please just keep track, turn on the alarm. If you guys do our little alert bell for our content, we will have a male panel, and we are going to have a panel packed with short kings that have dated in Miami their whole life and have been getting play in Miami their whole lives, and they're not millionaires and they don't drive Bugattis. They're just cool, charismatic guys that are funny and are that know how to have a nice time, be respectful, and they get a lot of play.
The funniest thing is this guy's screen name, which is Young Cash Register, aka Lil Broomstick. That is so fucking funny. That is so funny. I'm sorry. That is just hilarious.
The name
I forgot how delicious these Kanye West sweaters are, for real.
So, yeah, I mean, bro, and it sucks because they're conversations that are important, and I do feel that Linda and I have some unique takes in conversation. Again, I personally love the debate, but unfortunately, the way that Myron handles his podcast is, you know, all you gotta do is look at the comment section of the Saucecast that Linda was at, where it's like, if Myron was there, he would have never let this happen. Myron would have Frank Castled her. Myron would have Frank Castled her. Myron would have never let this happen. It's like, okay, so like, what did Donovan want? A safe space so that Linda wouldn't be mean things and be a loud, obnoxious woman? Come on, be a man, man
I'm
up.
a little old lady. I'm a little old lady.
Why are so many young men single compared to young women? This is an easy answer. You have no riz and chicks have tits. That's to get the attention of you guys is significantly easier than to get the attention and keep the attention of women. All we need are tits, and you guys need to have riz. Now, that has nothing to do with just how much money you have or what you're driving or anything like that. But it does require that you work on yourself, that you try not to be awkward in conversations, that you try to be funny, that you try to be respectful. You got to make up in other things. You got to pick a struggle. You can't be ugly, broke, short, and then on top of that, you're a jerk. Oh, I'm not going to pay for first drink because I'm not going to let a woman take my money. It's like, my brother, please pick a struggle. So again, that's why there's more broke men. More single men, because it's easier to attract men than it is to women, because you guys are, you know, easy to attract, particularly when you're younger.
Wait, hold on. Let me get the super chat. I was an interpreter for the child support court. I've seen the baby daddies shaking my head. It ain't Andrew Tate's and Justin Wallers of the world. Of course, there aren't. They're not going to be that way. And I'm sure the Tates and Waller's kids are going to be at least well off or good, financially good and stable, you know? So that's good. Hold on. What is it talking about? Value Taman is Myron was undefeated. I think I have a problem. Like I obviously we're like, you know, Myron, I guess, is kind of like my age, right?
Yeah, Myron is your age.
I don't know. When you are older, I don't need to be answering any man that is not my family member about my dating life. And I find that even more disrespectful than, for example, Donovan in that show started to question or get triggered or try to shame me over what a man chose on his own willingly to spend on a date. Not that I asked, not that that's my what I expect from a date or what I asked for, but what a man wanted to do. So now you're also taking away what you guys say that the men need. I let myself be led. If a man wants to take me on a helicopter ride that costs him $2,000, how is that my fault? Or equally, if I agree to meet a guy from ice cream and he only spends $20 on ice cream or $15 on ice cream, that's still him leading. So I don't, that to me on its own is like, I don't, why am I answering to
Well, they
you?
also took your question, the answer
You
to,
know?
out of context, because you specifically brought up the $1,500 date as an example to the fact where it's not always about money, and it doesn't always.
No.
Sometimes there's going to be men that really go out of their way to try to impress women because they like them, and the women are just not interested, and there's no sex that comes out of it, and there's no relationship because it's more than just money. So to have that statement be what was the actual core of that, and have it turn into something cheap like, oh well, oh, who does this broad think she is, $1,500 dates? It's like, dude, like, it's for me, being Linda's real life friend is so frustrating. I was actually telling her today, it's so frustrating because she's the furthest thing from materialistic, and she very well could be. She's a Latina with a fat ass living in Miami.
It's
And
true.
that is sufficient to secure the proverbial bag of the fans, usual fresh and fit girls. And she doesn't. She lives a very quiet life with her little
Very
cat,
quiet.
with her little cats and her dog. She lives a very quiet life. Where, you know, she's not a hoe, she's not interesada like in money. And to watch that just always be the attack because she looks a certain way, it's like, this is how you know that the entire system is fucked up, because then you have a girl that's home the majority of the time, doesn't do anything. She's there how you see her in her sweats the majority of the time, and she's still getting dragged on the internet for doing all, oh well, you're not married and you're not this and you're not that. It's like that's again, that podcast, the worst part about it was that Donovan was taking that statement because he felt triggered about that $1,500 price tag and tried to shit on Linda with that comment by taking out of context, when Linda's full context of that comment was, it doesn't matter that a guy, I've had guys take me on $1,500 dates. You can be just as happy going on a rollerblading date. In fact, it's the first example that she gave, that she would be just as happy going on a free rollerblading date. And then made the comparison where it's like, I've had guys take me on $1,500 dates and I haven't slept with them or been interested.
Right. Yeah.
This is an interesting comment. I love getting comments like this. JJ writes, to be honest, I sparred with you guys last week on one of your posts, but never gave your content a chance until now. And I'll admit your points about nascent misogyny on the right were 100% fair. I was wrong about y'all. Thank you, JJ. Hey, we don't got to agree on everything. And again, the debate is always welcome. You know, we enjoy it. We act like we don't, but we enjoy it. How do I raise a girl up? John Mooney wants.
How do I raise up a girl?
Up?
This is so funny.
Bro, number one, you gotta be funny. Like, yeah. I can't express that enough. Like,
funny is top. First of all, if you want to start with looks, I think hygiene is something that you have to think about. Let me take a picture of this because this is hilarious. I think you have to be smart about hygiene, and you know, are you like well groomed? Like, if you're not obviously like the hottest guy, like attractive, then you got to take care of certain things like your teeth, right? Your hair, your beard. You don't want to have a grasshopper's nest, like Cardi B said, right? And you know, you want to smell good, you want to dress well, you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars, but you can obviously get good clothes that you're gonna be swaggy. So let's start with, like, you know, that type of appearance. But
tailored clothes, while we're on clothes, tailored clothes goes a long way. It doesn't even have to be expensive, but if it's tailored, it always looks expensive on men.
Yeah. And when it, like she said, like, you want to be funny, you have to be funny, you know, you want to be charismatic. There's a difference between being a simp, you know, which is pretty much chasing a girl. You still with a girl, even if you want to show interest, you got to show some sort of mystery, right? You don't want to be like on top of her at all times. Like,
You want to be stoic. You want to be
exactly.
You want to make sure that she knows that you're interested, of course. Like, but a woman will reciprocate that interest. You don't have to push it out of her. Like she will. And basic hygiene, making her laugh, like that shit will go a long way. And like, why not? Like a little thoughtfulness. It doesn't even have to be. Like maybe I told you that I love pink post-its, and like you went and you got me a pack of like different shades of pink post-its. Maybe it cost you $14. Maybe it was
Picnic, right?
or but anything. And the fact alone that you thought about me like that is it's wow. Like I love that. Like thank you. That's so thoughtful. That kind of thing goes a long way. I think that eye contact is also super important. Women love a man with confidence, so like make eye contact when you're talking to a woman. Compliment her on something and mean it. Make eye contact, make her feel uncomfortable, force her to be the one that looks away in that situation. But yeah, I think that those are all things that the average guy can apply. And I'm not going to tell you that you're going to get every woman like that, but you'll be able to attract women for sure.
Well, if you're just gonna make excuses, not everyone's a comedian. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna have to choose a struggle. So if you're broke and ugly, you're gonna have to work on your personality and charisma. You can always work on your money as well. It may take you longer. If you're pretty but broke, then you have better chances. Like
work out, go to the gym.
You gotta choose your struggles, right? Like you gotta choose your struggles. If you're not a big comedian personality, are you pretty? Do you have money? I mean, you gotta choose a struggle.
But you don't. The women are expecting the perfect package. Like, yeah, women can fantasize about guys as a perfect package, but the reality is that most women are just the minute that a guy makes them feel good, then their interest is peaked and things develop from there. So I don't know, if you can't have a big personality, then like work out, like lift like water bottles, work out outside, like do outside work.
Look, just don't do stalker Riz. Like, yeah, for real, don't be a stalker. Chris, I don't know why you're so fucking angry. It's 1 a.m. where we are. Like,
Chris, send me money. I'll log off.
Send us money. Send us money. Send us money. You're being like typing. You're so hungry. Send us money.
We'll be quiet 1 second for every dollar that you sent us.
Ooh, who the hell's Marcus? Marcus was a bad guy, and his son is a much better human. Well, there it is, guys. And so the training begins. Best German philosopher: before going after a woman, look in the mirror and yourself if you're overweight. You don't need water bottles, just pull-ups and dips. Oh my God, these guys are so funny. Miami Spice is back, Kings. Take advantage of this, and the is dating in Miami. So fucking shoot us the best.
Shoot us the fucking best.
Shoot us the fucking best. King. I love it. He's the fucking funniest. I thought it. Guys, so Miami Spice, if you don't know Miami Spice, like all these expensive restaurants and really good restaurants of Miami have like a set menu for, I don't know, like $50 or some, I don't know, it depends on the restaurant. And you get to have like an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. So look it up. Pretty good stuff. Y'all should do a whole live just giving advice like that. Yeah, well, we were gonna bring the male panel too, right?
Yeah, we don't want to give advice.
We can definitely give advice from a woman's perspective,
right?
Right.
We can just tell you guys what it is that like we've.
Chris Morrison, look, pay me. I will give you good advice for you people here. Who the fuck is gonna pay you? You pay us. Chris.
Okay, everybody who wants to pay Chris, pay us, and then we'll let Chris comment.
Okay, and anybody who wants to hear from Chris, you gotta just
send us a chat for Chris, and we'll bring up his next comment on the screen.
Go to Andrew Tate, I guess. Yes, go to Andrew Tate so you can traffic women. I'm kidding.
Yeah, okay, we're joking.
Who the hell's Amy Dagenfer on your show? Okay, pick great parents that give you genes. Yeah, but ugly people still get laid. Oh damn, I didn't know I was screaming.
I think that's why the male panel is so important to us, because ever since the red pill content kind of fell on our laps, like we go talk to our male friends and we're like, dude, like, am I wrong? Like, what's going on? Like, do you remember things this way? Like, how was your experience or whatnot? And what we found is that first of all, short guys tend to outdo themselves at other aspects of life because they know that they're short. So then usually they're either very successful, or, you know, they take a lot of like pride in the way that they look or whatnot. So
Yeah.
you start seeing a pattern where realistically, because you have a height disadvantage, you have to work harder at life and therefore end up exceeding in other aspects, which is significantly more important. My husband is below, I mean, average height is 5'9". My husband is like 5'8", 5'9". He's not like over 6 feet or anything like that. And when I first met him, I thought that he was like the most good looking, most finest guy that I had ever met in my entire life. So, you know, this idea that like short guys or broke guys or, you know, guys on a struggle can't get women, that's not real. But you do need to be able to work on yourself. Zirko, we're bueno, como que es tarde right now, so I'm sure that wherever Zirko's at, he's awake.
he's probably look, it happens, you know, sometimes women go on dates and they never get a call back. It's not just men. Like, I understand that, you know, statistically, men are, oh, we're lonely, we're this, we're that. Well, it happens to women too. Women sometimes go on dates and, like, you know, our friends, especially back in the day, would be like, I don't know what happened. Like, we had a great time. Second date, da 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 da. This guy went ghost. Sometimes it's because that person is actually getting back with the ex, or they were on a break, or they have other people. They ended up liking those people. Like, it's not always just a you problem, right? You have to start getting.
Been on a few dates. That's usually something that comes from the outside. Like maybe was feeling you and liking you, and then an ex came back into the picture, or somebody that they really, really liked and had their eye on came into the picture. It's not, you know, this idea that women live in a constant state of hunting hypergamy is not real. Women are in a constant state of hunting safety. So when they've encountered like a safe space for themselves, they want to remain there. They're not like, oh, let me go find a safer space. That's not true. So I honestly, here's another piece of dating advice that I can give men and women alike. Be resilient in the dating market. Nobody dies from a broken heart. Nobody, those aren't things that are real. Like, you'll end one relationship and more often than not, you'll find another relationship that you'll be like, oh, this is significantly better than the last relationship I was in. And here's why. It's usually because you become a better version of yourself, a more concrete version of yourself. Therefore, you start attracting a partner that's more representative of you being a more complete person. So the best piece of advice that anybody can have in the dating market is to be resilient, because, you know, it's you're only supposed to have one person. God sends you one person you're supposed to marry and spend the rest of your life with. So clearly there's going to be a lot of people that it doesn't work out with because there's just that one person.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I just don't want young men. I feel like if you get too much of these statistics, and I'm not going to say propaganda, but if you get too much of this type of content wired to your brain where they're lonely, and you know, and women don't want to date you, and the odds are against you if you don't have this much money, or if you're not this high, like, whether that's a fact or not, like, you have to overcome that. Does that make sense? It's kind of like we talked about it the other day. Like, Messi was never supposed to be the greatest super soccer player in the world. He was never supposed to be that because he was shorter than average, because the coaches used to discriminate against him when he was a kid because he was very tiny, and therefore he was going to be a liability to the team. And look at where he is now. So I think that even if, like, you are, like, whatever it is that you have as a disadvantage, you're gonna have to, like, convert that into an advantage somehow, some way, or overcome it, or just wire in your brain something else. I don't suggest that you dwell in the negative content. I don't think you should do
and
it.
like, don't live in the statistics where you're like, oh, I must be part of that, you know, 60% of guys it's never gonna get laid or whatever. It's like you can't like that. Like, dude, I've seen we and Linda send each other these videos all the time of like crazy situations of like people with deformities, or like
Oh my God.
you know, crazy overweight people. and they find their person. They find their person, and the person loves them with their deformities. And you see them like, like changing their bedpans, and you see people like, feeding their 600-pound like person, extra food and bringing them takeout. It's you're going to, people will find their person. And I think that I understand the ideology of the red pill, where it's like, well, the more that you improve on yourself, the more access to options you will have. That's absolutely true. But we also got to be realistic, where it's like, bro, everybody isn't going to be a 10. I know like guys tell women a lot that we're delusional because everybody isn't a 10. I'm not a 10. I'm a 2. I'm a 2 and I'm living my life. But a lot of you men think that just because you work on yourself, you're going to go from a 2 to a 10. And that's not realistic, bro. Like a lot of you are going to go from 2s to 4s. And maybe you'll get a 5, and that's good. That's a good turnaround time. You went from being a 2 to a 4 to landing a 5. But you can't be disappointed with your life, because we got to be realistic with the fact that everybody's not going to be 10s with Bugattis and be 6'4", 6-pack abs, and it's that's not realistic. So like, it's, people gotta have a little bit of a cold party. I love the spring. He was like, I deserve a 10. You know what? You deserve a 10 too, bro.
You deserve a 10, then you get your 10.
And
I think we'll take one more because we've been at 2 hours. So we're going to be 2 a.m. But somebody said something about a virgin. And they
saw
said,
that too.
how do we deal with intimacy when you're a virgin? And I think that if you are saving yourself for marriage, the best thing to do would be to find a partner who is also saving themselves for marriage. And I'm sure, especially if it's for a religious matter, there has to be some sort of church guidance for a fact that you can talk to about intimacy. I think, obviously, just like anything else, if you do see yourself in the event that you're saving yourself for marriage, and both of you are going to have sex for the first time on your wedding night, I think it's going to come natural. And I think that first time may be horrific, like it's
awkward,
maybe awful, but it doesn't matter because you have a lot of chances to try. And
also
right,
another piece of advice when it comes to that is like, find somebody that's at the same level of like purity as you are. I think that that's important. Like even for these red pill men that push for men finding, I don't think that women virgins should be with super experienced men. Like like sometimes I hear Sterling Cooper, who's a porn star, talking about virgins, and it's like, I don't think a virgin should lose their virginity to you under any circumstance.
No, I don't think so either.
So when you're saving yourself under that that pretense, like Linda just mentioned, and you're with somebody, you're gonna have so much opportunity to discover one another and learn together. And that process of sex works, period, but individual people have things that they like, things that turn you on, things that are going to turn that woman on, things that are going to be unique to that sexual relationship. And you guys are going to be able to discover that all with one another. So you're going to be able to perfect the art of pleasing one another, which is an advantage that virgins have, developing that relationship with that special person that people lose after having so many partners. So my advice to it is like, stick to it and definitely look at it as an experience where it's not just, am I good at sex? Is can me and this person have the best sex ever, because we're going to be so in tune with what pleases one another.
Look at Shuna says, I worked to myself and got guapito as fuck. I went from dating 7 to -3. Fucking tragic. Fucking tragic. I can't believe you.
It makes me laugh so much.
Oh my god, this is so
guys.
fun.
This was
Oh my god, this was fun.
This was a really fun chat. Thank you guys so much for joining us last minute. We didn't even know. Thank you guys for your contributions. We will be back on Thursday in the studio. We'll be going live at 10. Linda, we're gonna do 10, right? On Thursday.
Yeah, look at this. Linda broke up with Saskas because
it's true. Donovan really did stop being friends with fucking Adam because he was mad that he didn't kick Linda off.
Oh my god, I'm tired. Oh, all right, guys. It was good talking to you. Have a great night. Love you. Sweet dreams. Bye.
We'll see you guys on Thursday, guys. Bye.